Okay, so I have started the recording, right? Okay, so I'm going to explain you what is management group. Okay, so what is the use of management group? Okay, so management group is nothing but it helps you to organize your subscriptions in a particular hierarchical way. Okay, let's say you have the company XYZ, and in the company you have multiple departments like IT department, HR department, finance department. Okay, let's say all these departments they use Azure resources to do their daily job. Okay, and each department will have its own subscription, correct? Subscription is the way we access the Azure portal resources, correct? So see, all your billing is happening in the subscription level. Okay, let's say a company has five subscriptions. They may have to pay. They may have to do the billing based on these five subscriptions. So each subscription based on the usage will generate a billing to be paid to Microsoft, right? Now, having said that, there are going the practical scenario. If you see, there will be multiple departments under a company, correct? So the company XYZ can have IT department, it can have HR department, it can have finance department, and of course each department will have their own set of resources, correct? When I say resources, I mean Azure resources. Okay, so they want to be able to manage those resources efficiently and also very securely. So, like for example, HR data might be confidential to the IT team. Finance data can be confidential to other two teams. So likewise, they want to make sure that whatever the data they work with, it is in their limits. So what they do, they create their own subscriptions and they try to manage the resources and resource group under this subscription. Okay, as I already told you, you know what is resource group, right? See, resource group is nothing but it is like a container. I'll just quickly just show you here. If you see this resource group, it is like a logical container. Okay, so when you create a resource group, normally you provide like in which region this resource group should exist. So for example, if I'm going to create a resource group, right? Okay, let me just show you how, just quickly recap like how the resource group is created. So if I'm just selecting this resource group, and when I'm going to create a new resource group, of course, under the particular subscription, it has to be created. So if it is HR team, they will have their own subscription, and they will create the resource group under their subscription. Likewise, each team will be creating the resource group under each subscription, right? So if you notice, whenever I'm creating a resource group, right, it will ask for region. This is very this is mandatory one to be supplied. Okay, you may think, see, resource group, I said it's only a logical container, then why do we need a region? See what happens once you create a resource group, right? You may end up adding new resources. You may once you have used the resources, you may no longer need it, and you may delete those resources, correct? So what happens? Resources gets added, gets deleted, or gets modified in the resource group. So all this information, this is like a metadata for resource group. So the metadata of resource group should be stored in some data center. That's why even when you are creating a resource group, it is asking for a region. Okay, so all these modifications made to this resource group has to be stored somewhere in a data center. So that's why when you create a resource group, it is prompting to enter the region, right? Okay, so as I said, resource group is it's like a container. So what happens under the subscription, any team working with Azure will create a resource group first, and within this, sorry, yeah, and within this resource group, they will create their Azure resources that they want to work with. If you see here, I have this resource group, and let's say I want to create a new virtual machine. So I'm going to create this new virtual machine. I'll just show you this quickly how it is done. So I'll just first select the virtual machine option. Then I'm going to give a virtual machine name. So in this case, let me give it as a test VM157. So, okay. So region, it is coming as Asia Pacific Australia East. So I'm going to select US East US, and this is okay. I'll explain these and all later. Let's just go with the default settings as of now. So one thing to notice is you see something called image, right? So what is this image? Image is nothing but it contains like how your which it contains like the operating system details exactly. So I'm going to select say Windows Server 2009 data center generation 2. So again, the size I'm going to go with the okay. So it says it's currently unavailable. Let me do one thing. Let me select a different configuration. See all sizes. Okay, fine. For some reason it is not showing. Let me select a different region. US2, East US2. Okay, so it is having this particular configurable virtual machine. I'm selecting this OS. So this is asking for username. Again, I'll explain this later. Just this I'm just creating for demo purpose. Okay, yeah. Okay, so I'm just confirming the password also. Okay, so I'm not going to worry about the other settings as of now. I'm just going to keep clicking next until I end up creating this virtual machine. So it is running final validation. So what I'm trying to say is how different resources can be created within a resource group. That's what I'm trying to show you now. Yeah, yeah, it will take some time. So likewise, right, for any team or any company, right, they will have a resource group under a subscription, and within that resource group, they will add how many number of resources they want to work, they will create under it. For example, if you take IT team, they may need a virtual machine, they may need a storage account. Likewise, they may need multiple items, right? So they will create all these things in a virtual machine. Okay. Okay. So I'm just yeah. I just did that. Yeah. Maybe you have to mute one of your thing, or is it will echo? Yeah. Cool. Right. So now my virtual machine is getting created. So what I was saying is, so resource group is like a logical container. Inside the resource group only all the Azure resources will get created. Okay. So that is clear now. So just for an example, I have created a resource group and I have added a virtual machine as a new resource in this. Now I was telling about this management group, right? So what is management? What is management group? As you know, as I said, if you take a company XYZ, there will be different departments like HR, IT, finance. Each will create their own Azure subscription, right? So in some cases, a same department can have multiple subscriptions also, correct? For example, yeah, for example, HR can have one subscription for development, one subscription for testing, one subscription for production, etc. Right? So in that case, they want to create a process so that they can collectively apply this role-based access control. So that's where this resource management group comes into picture. Okay. So for that, what we have to do for to create a management group, what we have to do. So meanwhile, let's just check if the virtual machine has got created. Yeah, resource group is ready, and if you see in this resource group, you have this virtual machine that got created. Okay, see, this is the actual virtual machine name which we had given. If you see apart from this, there are some additional resources that has got created, like network security group. Exactly, it has got created automatically. Anyway, I will explain all this in the upcoming topics. For now, let's try to understand what is resource group. It's a logical container, and within it you'll have multiple resources that gets created. Okay, right. Now coming back to our management group. So as I said, management group enables any company or any team to group the subscriptions under a single hierarchy, basically. So that's the use of management group. So I want to search for management group here if I want to create this. I, okay, yeah. Now think like this. So your resource group comes under what? Subscription, correct? So under subscription, you can have any number of resource groups. Maybe, yeah, maybe the HR, okay, the HR department of a company can have a subscription for the development team, and within the development team there can be like multiple development teams. There can be a development team for Java, there can be a development team for backend. So in that case, what will happen? Each development team may create their own resource groups. Let's say there are two development teams. One is for front end, one is for back end. So what will happen? There can be two resource groups under this subscription, right? So what will happen? So see now just see how the hierarchy goes. There are two resource groups under a subscription. So this subscription is under the management group HR. Got it? So this HR can have multiple subscription also, like one subscription for development, one subscription for production. Correct? So that's how the hierarchy goes. So it starts in the top with management group, which is your HR. Under the management group, you will have two subscriptions, one subscription for development, one subscription for production. So under the development subscription, you can have two resource groups, one resource group for front end team, one resource group for back end team. So that's how your hierarchy goes, right? Now, let's say the HR team wants to make sure that only the colleagues working under the HR team should be able to access the resource groups and resources of HR team. So how this can be done? So this can be done either in the resource level or in the resource group level or in the subscription level. But the idea is anyway, it wants to make sure that all the HR team colleagues, they have access to all the subs. Exactly. So to do that, what they can do, they can start inheriting or providing the rights from the management group level itself. So what will happen? The same rights, whatever provided in the management group, will get inherited next to the subscription. Then it will get inherited to the resource group till it reaches a resource. So that's the main use of resource group. Okay. See, for example, okay, let me show you. For example, let me show you. I'm just creating a new resource group here called a HR. Let's say I'm going to create a thing called a finance HR. Fine, finance management group called finance HR. Okay, so management group display name. You can give the same also. That's fine. I'm just submitting it. So it is creating a new management group. Right. So I just tried to show you how this management group is getting created. So it will take some time to get added, but already I had created a management group called HR. So now, how will I add the existing subscriptions? Let's say I have two subscriptions called subscription one, subscription two. These two subscriptions belong to this particular HR group. So what I will do then, I will just click on this HR. HR is the management group, correct? So I'll click the HR management group. Then I will just add my subscription here. So it will show the available list of subscriptions. In this case, there is only one subscription. So in real-time scenario, depending on how many number of subscriptions is available, all will be shown in this list, correct? So what I can do, I'm just selecting this, I'm just saving. So what happens? This subscription gets added to this management group HR. Exactly. So now if you see here, you can see how the hierarchy appears now. Management group appears first. Under this management group, this subscription appears. Now if I click this subscription, yeah, under this you will find that particular resource group. See, I'm in this subscription free trial. Now if I'm clicking this resource group, I'll be able to see the resource group. Okay. So now if you see, there is another resource group. This we didn't create. Again, this also got added as part of our virtual machine creation. Okay. So again, I'll explain about this also in the upcoming sessions, right? So now what we understood, yeah, management group is actually used to group the subscriptions together so that the role-based access control or the permissions given to the management group gets inherited till the resource level. So it will be easy to what to say, manage access and identity. That's the idea of management group, right? Yeah, now let me just show you. Okay, so let me create a new resource group and I will show you how when we add permission in the management group, that gets inherited to the resource group. I will show you with an example. Okay, so now first what I'm going to do, I am in my subscription free trial. In this subscription, I want to create a new resource group. So what I will do, I'm selecting this subscription, then I'm selecting this resource group, then I'm going to create a new resource group. Okay, so this resource group I'm giving the name as okay, AZ-RG2. Okay, so yeah, so region, let me just select it as US East US2. It can It can be same. See, the other region belongs to East US. Of course, this also can be same. See, region is something. Yeah, yeah. Region is something like a data center. Okay. So, as I told, see, in the practical scenario, how the region is selected is, let's say you are working in Australia, right? In that case, it is always good to select a data center or a region from Australia. Okay. The reason is, if you are in Australia and if you select a region, let's say from US, there will be the data has to travel via network, right? So there will be some latency, exactly. So to avoid those latencies, it always the best practice to choose a region or data center which is near to your nearest to your network or workplace, exactly. So this is just for demo purpose. I'm just choosing, even though I'm from India, I'm just choosing this ECUs just for demo purpose. Okay. So, but in real time, when organizations work with the huge data and all, they always prefer to choose a region which is close to their office or data center. Okay, right. So in this case, I'm just choosing this East US. I'm just going to give review create. Okay, fine. So it is asking, yeah, validation passed, I'm creating. So now the idea is I'm just trying to show you how when we grant permission in the management group level, that gets inherited to the resource group and resource level. Okay. So now we had created a new resource group RG2, correct? So just for demo purpose, I'm going to create a resource within this resource group. Okay. So I'm going in. Yeah, so no resource, I mean, yeah, Azure resource within this resource group. So I'm going inside this resource group and I'm going to create. So it automatically, if you go there and create, it will automatically come for the resource. So you can do that, you can do this in this way, or let me show you the other way because I already have shown this particular method of creating a resource. Yeah, now let's say I'm in home only. I want to create a new storage disk. So see, this is the best way to do. You can just go and search for your resource which you want to create. So I want to create a storage account. So I'm going to search for storage. So it comes here. So I'm selecting this storage account. I'm creating this storage account. So as you know, while creating this storage account, it asks for subscription and also it asks for resource group. In this case, I have 3 resource groups. Yeah, I'm selecting resource group 2. Okay, then it is asking for instance details. It is just a storage account name. I'm just going to give it as SAN 157 storage. Just for example, see if you see here, it has automatically taken the region as East US. You know why? Can you say why? How did it automatically pick the region as East US? Okay, no, see how it picks this is based on which resource, sorry, based on which region this resource group belongs to. Yeah, yeah. So e- exactly. So, but this necessarily doesn't mean that you have to stick to the region only. But as a best practice, it is always good to have this. But if you want, I'm trying to say, if you want, you have the privilege to change the region also. I mean to say your resource group being in a particular region, it is possible that your resource can be in another region. It is quite possible. Okay, so that's what I'm also trying to cover here. right? So then you have like additional many other options. Anyway, these and all I will uh, I will explain you when I'm covering this storage disk topic. So my storage account topic. For now, I'm just going with the default option standard. So you have this something called redundancy. So I'm just going with locally redundant storage LRS. I'm just going to give next create plus create. So it will see every resource when you're going to create, right? It will run a validation step to make sure all the details are available, all the details are logically correct, and then only you will get the option to create. I'm creating it. Okay. Okay. So now what we have done, we have created a management group. Under the management group, we have added the subscription. Under the subscription, we have created a resource group, and under the resource group, we have created a resource. Now, now what we are going to do now, we are going to create a new user and provide access, uh, and give RBAC access to this management group and see how the same permission gets inherited to the resource group and resource level. Let me show you that. First to create a resource, sorry, first to create a user or group, where should I go? I mean, no, I mean to create an exactly. So to create an user or group, you should go to Active Directory. Yeah. So I'm going here to the Active Directory. Uh, yeah, we can still go. It is possible. Yeah, you can still search for users, groups, everything you can search. But for if you see admin, right, always they select this Active Directory, so it will be like a center place for them to start managing users and groups. So yeah, you have all the options under this users groups, right? That's why. Yeah. So now let me show you. Let me just create a new user, and I will try to, yeah, give access to that user to this management group and show you how it gets inherited. Okay. So I'm just going to create a new user. So let's say let me call this user as Sam. Okay. So I'm just giving the option. Let me create password here. Shell password. I'm just setting it up. Okay. So in this case, yeah, so the current step, whatever I'm doing is it will be done by an admin. So whenever an employee gets onboarded into a company, so for him to be able to access the Azure resources, right? A new user should be created in the Active Directory. So the admin adds that particular user in the Active Directory, and he sets up an user ID for him. So this is the user ID. I'll show you the user ID. So it will generate, yeah, user ID, and then yeah. Hmm. Okay. Okay, so yeah, there is option to create bulk user. I will show you that. But in general, in normal scenario, when this is done, right? So what happens? See, these are all by default like manual activities. But nowadays, many organizations are going for the concept of DevOps. DevOps. What is DevOps? DevOps is nothing but, yeah, it is a combination of development and operations team. Okay. So what happens is using various DevOps teams like Jenkins, they are automating these processes. Okay, I'm just explaining this to you just to understand. But in real time, what's happening is the actual companies, right? They are going with the DevOps team and they are implementing DevOps solutions. So what happens? All the users has to do is they just have to create a new request in the SharePoint, and that gets captured by the DevOps tool, and the new users gets created. So no one only, yeah. If you take a large, Mhm. No, see that depends on how that particular enterprise sets this process. See, I'm just saying it's only a process. Okay, so you don't have to like confuse SharePoint with this portal. I'm just saying the enterprise or companies can create this process in any automated way. They can create SharePoint, or even they can create some forms, some request forms, where the manager would say that employee Sam is joining this company, and he will fill all the details for the employee Sam. And it will be it what will happen, the DevOps, there will be a batch schedule, and the DevOps job will pick those details. Based on that, it will automatically access this Azure Active Directory, and it will create a user. Okay, so this is all done using DevOps scripts. Okay, so but I'm just explaining you how to just to understand this process. Okay, right. So now I have given the initial password. So again, you have to give job title and all here. So I'm just giving us like for example, cloud engineer, and the department I'm saying here department. Let's say, okay, let's say he's from HR team. Just assumption only, right? So I'm just creating this user. Okay, so now the user has been created. Okay, so do you remember how we gave role-based access control in our last session? Do you remember that? How actually we did it? Do you remember? So what we just to recall, what we did is, once this user has been created, we went on to the resource group, in the resource group level, and this is the resource which we accessed in our first demo, right? So we clicked this resource group, and what we did, do you remember in these options, which option should we select? Exactly. So the access control is the one which is used to provide role-based access control. So what we did, we clicked on this access control IAM, and then we added the users. Exactly. So the same thing we are going to do now. Okay, the same thing we are going to do now, but we are going to do this instead of resource group level, we are going to do this in the management group level. That's it. Yeah. Okay, so I'm just going to search for management groups. I'm selecting this HR group. So again, I'm going to do the access, the same thing, same option. I'm going to add. I'm going to add role assignment. So members, sorry, in the role I have to select what role I want to give. Let's say I want to add the new employee as a contributor to this. So I'm selecting contributor, then going to members, assign access to it. It will come like this. Then you'll have to select the member. So I'm going to add this user Sam. I've done that. So I'm selecting this. So sorry. Yeah. So review plus assign. Okay, it is being added. Right. Now, I want to check now whether this new user Sam has got access to this resource RG2. Let's do that. Okay. So for that, how we have to do? First, we have to uh, pick up the username, correct? So for that, again, I have to go to the Active Directory. So this is how the process is done, right? So when the new user is created, an admin or admin automated system, it will share to this user, hey Sam, this is your user ID. You can use this and log into your Azure portal, right? So I'm going to select, this is a user ID. I'm going to select this. So let me log out of this particular session, and let me log in using this new ID. So I'm going to select use another account, giving this ID. Next, it's asking for the password. So I should provide the initial password here. So I had again change my password. See, this Azure Active Directory is a very important thing to understand. Only if you understand this Azure Active Directory and role-based access control, you'll be able to relate how users are created, how users get their access into the Azure portal, how users get access to different Azure resources. So all these things you will understand. Okay, so I'm just giving this skip for now. So I told you right about this additional protection. What do you know? Do you remember what is this? Exactly, exactly. Like to enable multi-factor authentication, Microsoft enables to provide this, but this is for demo. I'm just skipping this. Okay, so now I have logged in using the new user account Sam. So yeah, again it's asked for this phone to set up this using code or password, I mean passcode. I'm just skipping this setup as well. Okay, yes. Now I'm going to see if the new user Sam, where the access was granted in the management group, has he got access to the resource group and the resource. That's my main idea to check now, correct? So I'm going to search for resource groups. Okay, yeah. So if you see here, Sam has got access to this resource group RG2, and he also have access to this storage account, right? Yeah, exactly. So that's what has happened here. So if you see here, Sam has got access to this resource group RG1 also. Can you think how it happened? Because this RG1 and RG2 both belongs to the same subscription. Exactly, yeah, exactly. That subscription belongs to the management group HR. So when your permission is given in the management group level, it gets inherited into its downward hierarchies. Like it goes to the subscription, then it goes to the resource group, then it goes to the resource. That's how the permission is granted. Okay. So now you can understand the use of management groups, right? The main use. So it is basically used to collect your subscriptions into one group so that you can manage the access, very easily. So instead of having to go for each subscription or to go to each resource group and give access, it can be just done from the top level, which is the management group level itself. Okay, right. Okay, so now let me show you how to create dynamic users. I mean, to a group. It's a very interesting topic and topic. Good to know that. Let me explain you. Okay, let me first log into using my admin account. Okay, so what happens in a real time scenario? Okay, so the company hire employees. Employees get onboarded. Their new user ID gets created in the Azure portal, and admin will share and also the RBAC. I mean role based access control is set up, and the credentials will be shared to the user, and user will start working. Right. So let's say I want to create a dynamic process in a way that whenever a user joins a company, based on the different criteria, the user should get automatically added to different groups. Okay, I will show you how it is done. Again, different groups. Okay, so okay, fine. Now we are speaking about Azure Active Directory group. Okay, so that's why initially it can be slightly confusing between this Azure Active Directory groups and this RBAC subscription, etc. But you will understand as time goes. But for now, what I'm trying to say is how the users can be dynamically added based on the different criteria. Maybe let's say yeah, an employee who onboards, if he is DBA, he should be added to the database administrator group. If he is application engineer, he should be added to the application engineering team. So likewise, we can create our own dynamic rules. I will show you how it is done. Okay. For that, again, where we have to go? Azure Active Directory. Right. So now I'm going to the groups. I'm going to create a dynamic group property. I'm going to create a new group. So this group type, I have told you, right? You have two group types, security, Microsoft 365. Security is the one normally we use to create an AD and then enable and use this to enable RBAC, right? Right. So I'm using this security. Again, this Microsoft 365, it is used for a mail purpose. It is a mail enabled group, which is used for collaboration for mail and meeting purposes. Okay. So in this case, I'm just going with security and I'm going to give the group name. Let me call this group name as app engineering team. Okay, app engineering. Okay. So membership type. See, if you see so far, I had given the membership type as assigned, and I manually added users to this group. So now in this case, I'm going to go with the option dynamic user. Okay. So once you select this dynamic user, this gets enabled. So we have to provide a dynamic query. It is very simple only. You have to just click this dynamic query. Okay. Now you have to select your rule based on what rule the user should get added to this group. I'm going to add an expression. Okay, to say here. Okay. So I'm saying I'm choosing a property here. You have like different properties that you will be filling in for an employee, correct? Let's say based on the job title, I want to create this dynamic rule. So I'm going to select job title. So whenever an employee gets onboarded and if his job title is equal to, okay, equal to application, or let's say cloud engineer. So yeah, this is my exactly. So this is my expression. So what happens whenever an user gets onboarded with the job title cloud engineer, that user should automatically get added into this group. Okay. So that's what we have configured here. So you can see, right? It says user.job title equals to cloud engineer. So I'm just saving this. I'm just creating this group. Yeah, just to show how it works, I'll have to create a new user. Let me do that. So it has got added. Let me go to default directory again. I mean Azure Active Directory again. So I'm going to users and I'm going to create a new user. Let's say user is called John. John, yes. So of course, the admin will be adding all these details, or the DevOps process will be adding all these details. So in this case, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to go with auto generate password. Okay, so just so here again, again, how my rule has been written, it is based on job title, right? So if the job title is equal to cloud engineer, the particular user must get added there, correct? So whenever what happens, whenever a new employee gets onboarded with a job title cloud engineer, so automatically this user will get added to the group. Okay, so there is no need to exclusively add these users to the group. Likewise, you can define, right? You can even define if a user is added to a particular department, uh, the users for I mean the users that belong to all those departments should be added to a certain group. Maybe the users that comes under a particular reporting manager has to come under different groups. So likewise, you can create whatever rule you want, correct? So I'm going to add this as cloud engineer and I'm creating this user. So let's say if this user is automatically added to that group or not. Just closing this. So let's refresh to see this user here. Yeah, it will take some time always to get created. Okay, so the user John has been created. So now it should have got added to that group, correct? Let's check that. Going to the groups. I'm going to the app engineering. So if you want to see the users that belong under a group, you have to go to the members. So you have to just refresh and see. It will take some time to add. Okay, you can see here, right? John has got added, but one more user also has got added, Sam. Why? Because I think we created this user also with the title cloud engineer, I believe. Let's check that. Why? If you go here, you would be able to see that users, yeah, title here, cloud engineer, because there was another user already created with the job title cloud engineer. So automatically this also has got it into this particular group. Okay. So that's how the users are assigned dynamically. So, and one more thing I want to tell you, see, whenever we are creating users or groups to, I mean, whenever, see, see, this is how the process works, right? You create an user in Azure Active Directory, and then you add this user to a particular group. Then you use this group or user and you apply role-based access control from the management group level or from the resource group level. It is possible that you are going to hire a new resource, but that new resource should have access only to one resource only. It is possible. You can just, even let's say there is a new employee that gets onboarded into the company. He shouldn't have access to any other resources. He just needs to have access only to a particular virtual machine. That is also possible. Okay, so that is also possible. So what I'm trying to say here is, along with this Azure Active Directory and role-based access control only, we will be able to control which resource has access to which, which user has access to which resources, right? So, I showed you another demo, right? Like in this, I created a user, and for that user, we added access to the management group level, right? So let's see that. Let me show you how it is appearing in the user's properties. So we created Sam A and we assigned this user with access to management group, right? So if you click on this, just remember this, just assign Azure role assignments. If you click on this, it will show. You can see here, right? It says under this subscription free trial for this resource type management group, this user Sam has got the contributor access. Okay, so like these are all like different things like how it is done. I told you, right, it is possible to assign this access in the virtual machine level also. Let me just show you that. Let me just see that. So if you see, if you search for virtual machine, right? See, whenever, that's the thing, you can access this in multiple ways. You can go to the resource group and access your resource, or you can search for whatever resource you want to see, and that particular resource, if you had created, it will appear. So you can select that as well. Yeah. So I told you, right? I want to onboard a new employee, but the new employee should have access only to this virtual machine. It is possible. So how this can be done? Again, let me just quickly create a new user. Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to create a new user. New user. I'm just going to name it as okay, Karthik. I'm fine with all these things. I'm just going to create it. So the new user Karthik has been created. Now, I want to make sure that this user Karthik doesn't have access to any other resources or resource groups. Only he should be given access to that virtual machine alone. So how it is done? I have to select the virtual machine here, go to this access control IAM, and then I can add the user directly here. So what will happen? Yeah, this virtual machine, even though it is part of a particular resource group, this user will have access only to this virtual machine. He won't have access to other resources that may be part of the same virtual group. Exactly. So I'm just going to give him access as a contributor. Members, I have to select, sorry, yeah, I have to select that user name. So I'm selecting the user Karthik. Select. So it has been included. I'm just going to review assign. Okay, Karthik has been added now. So if you see here, what will happen when Karthik logs in, he would be able to access only this virtual machine. So yeah, so that's how this is done. Okay. So now I hope you have now good understanding of what is resource management group, what is subscription, what is resource group, how resource is created in a resource group, and how users and groups are created in Active Directory, how along with the RBAC, that is role-based access control, how the permission is given to any user to access any particular Azure resource, right? And also, how to create and add users dynamically into groups. So I believe you know all this, you understand all these topics, correct? Okay, that's good. So I think we'll stop here for now. Maybe we can see the rest of the topics tomorrow. Okay. So let me stop the recording.